The mockery begins. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderstrike, her dark eyes scanning the tactical display that showed the approaching Zephyrian fleet. The massive alien vessels moved through space like predators stalking prey, their crystalline hulls gleaming with an otherworldly blue light. Each ship was 3 times the size of her destroyer, armed with energy weapons that could vaporize asteroids. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel," reported Lieutenant Jake Morrison, her second in command. His voice carried the tension that filled the bridge like static electricity. Maya nodded, her expression calm despite the overwhelming odds. "Put it through, Lieutenant." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Admiral Crix. The Zephyrian commander stood nearly 8 feet tall, his scaled skin shifting from deep purple to silver as emotions played across his features. 4 arms gestured dismissively while his compound eyes fixed on Maya with obvious disdain. "So this is what the humans send to greet the mighty Zephyrian Empire." Crix's voice rumbled through the bridge's speakers, his translator giving his words a mechanical edge. "A single primitive vessel barely worthy of scrap metal." Maya kept her face neutral, though her crew exchanged worried glances behind her. The Thunderstrike was indeed smaller than the alien ships, its gray hull marked with battle scars from previous conflicts. To outside observers, it looked like a relic compared to the sleek Zephyrian warships. "Admiral Crix, I presume," Maya replied, her voice steady. "You're in violation of the Sol System Defense Treaty. Turn your fleet around and leave peacefully." The alien's laughter was like grinding metal. "Treaties? You speak of treaties when your entire species is nothing more than an amusing curiosity. Look at your pathetic ship, human. Our scouts report it uses chemical propulsion and crude kinetic weapons. We possess energy shields that your weapons cannot penetrate and drives that bend space itself." Behind Maya, Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's chief science officer, whispered urgently, "Captain, our sensors are picking up massive energy signatures from their fleet. Their weapons are charging." Maya raised her hand slightly, signaling for patience. She had faced overwhelming odds before, but never quite like this. The Zephyrian Empire controlled dozens of star systems. Their technology was centuries ahead of Earth's, and their reputation for crushing resistance was legendary throughout the galaxy. "Admiral," Maya continued, "I'm giving you one final warning. Leave this system immediately." Crix's compound eyes seemed to shimmer with amusement. "Or what, little human? You'll scratch our hulls with your primitive projectiles. Your species has been watched for decades. We know exactly what you're capable of, and it's laughably inadequate." The transmission cut out, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Maya turned to face her crew, noting the mix of fear and determination in their eyes. These men and women had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not return home. "Status report," she ordered crisply. Lieutenant Morrison consulted his display. 27 Zephyrian vessels detected, Captain. 12 battlecruisers, 10 destroyers, and 5 support ships. They're maintaining formation at the edge of the system. "Weapons?" Maya asked. "All systems green, ma'am. Railguns loaded and ready, missile tubes armed. Point defense systems online." Morrison paused. "Captain, our intel was right. They're not taking us seriously at all. Their shields aren't even active." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her science station, her face pale but determined. "Captain, the quantum drive is stable and ready. We've run every simulation possible. The theoretical models all check out, but we've never tested it in actual combat." Maya finished. "I know, Doctor. We're about to find out if human ingenuity can overcome superior firepower." The tactical display showed the Zephyrian fleet beginning to move. They weren't rushing. Their advance was deliberate, almost ceremonial. Maya realized they were planning to make an example of humanity, to show the galaxy what happened to species that dared resist the Empire. "Incoming transmission from Earth Command," Morrison reported. "Put it through," Maya ordered. Admiral Sarah Blake's weathered face appeared on a smaller screen. Maya, the President has authorized Protocol 7. You have full discretion out there. Maya felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Protocol 7 meant she was authorized to use any and all experimental technology at her disposal. It also meant Earth's leadership believed this might be humanity's last stand. Understood, Admiral. We won't let you down. Good hunting, Captain. Blake out. The transmission ended, leaving Maya alone with her thoughts for a moment. Through the bridge's viewport, she could see Earth hanging in the distance, a blue marble that represented everything they were fighting to protect. Billions of people were depending on her and her crew. Captain. Morrison's voice snapped her back to the present. The Zephyrians are launching fighters. Looks like they want to play with us before the main event. Maya watched as swarms of sleek alien fighters detached from the larger ships, moving in perfect formation toward the Thunderstrike. Each fighter was roughly the size of Earth's shuttlecraft, but moved with impossible grace and speed. Take us to Yellow Alert, Maya ordered. Bring the ship about. Let's see what we're dealing with. The Thunderstrike's engines hummed to life, pushing the destroyer into an intercept course with the approaching fighters. Maya knew this first engagement would set the tone for everything that followed. The fighters opened fire first, sending streams of blue energy toward the Thunderstrike. Maya felt the ship shudder as the shots impacted their shields. Shields down to 80%, reported the tactical officer. Their weapons are more powerful than expected. Return fire, Maya ordered. Show them what Earth's children can do. The Thunderstrike's railgun spoke with thunderous authority, sending tungsten slugs racing toward the alien fighters at incredible velocity. The first volley caught the Zephyrians completely off guard. 3 fighters simply disintegrated as the kinetic projectiles tore through their hulls. For a moment, the alien formation wavered. They had expected their superior technology to make them untouchable, but the humans had just proven that wrong. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Surprised, aren't you? She murmured. But the aliens quickly regrouped. More fighters poured from the larger ships, and their tactics became more aggressive. The Thunderstrike found itself surrounded, taking hits from multiple directions. Shields down to 40%, Morrison reported. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. Maya gripped her command chair as the ship bucked under the assault. Around her, the bridge crew worked with desperate efficiency, managing damage control and returning fire whenever possible. Captain, Dr. Vasquez called out, I'm reading massive energy buildup from the battle cruisers. They're preparing their main weapons. Maya's heart sank. She had hoped to deal with the fighters before facing the capital ships, but the Zephyrians were apparently tired of playing games. All hands, brace for impact, she announced ship-wide. The energy beams from the Zephyrian battlecruisers lit up space like artificial stars. When they struck the Thunderstrike, the destroyer's shields collapsed entirely, and the ship was thrown spinning out of control. Emergency lights bathed the bridge in red as systems failed throughout the ship. Maya pulled herself upright, tasting blood from where she had bitten her tongue. Damage report, she shouted over the alarms. Main engines offline, weapons systems at 20% capacity, life support failing on decks 4 through 6. Morrison rattled off the devastating list. Captain, we're sitting ducks. Through the smoke and chaos, Maya could see the Zephyrian fleet moving closer. Their victory was so certain that they weren't even bothering to finish off the Thunderstrike immediately. Admiral Crix was probably savoring the moment. This is exactly what I expected from human ingenuity, came Crix's mocking voice over the communications channel. Your ship is crippled, your crew is dying, and your planet is defenseless. Surrender now, and we might allow some of your species to survive as servants. Maya wiped blood from her forehead and looked around at her crew. Despite everything, she saw no surrender in their eyes, only grim determination. These people had volunteered to stand between Earth and annihilation, and they weren't about to give up now. Dr. Vasquez, Maya said quietly, is the quantum drive still operational? The science officer checked her instruments, her face lighting up with surprise. "Yes, Captain. The core is intact and stable. But if we activate it now, without proper preparation, the risks are acceptable," Maya interrupted. "Lieutenant Morrison, prepare to transmit a message to the Zephyrian fleet." "Channel open, Captain." Maya stood, straightening her uniform despite the chaos around her. When she spoke, her voice carried across space with absolute conviction. "Admiral Crix, you made one critical mistake. You assumed that because our technology looks different from yours, it must be inferior. You're about to learn why humanity has survived and thrived on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "We don't just adapt to challenges, Admiral. We turn them into weapons." The destroyer's wrath. Admiral Crix's compound eyes focused on the human captain's image with growing irritation. The female stood defiant despite her ship's obvious destruction, showing no sign of the fear that should have overwhelmed her by now. Around him on the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Dominion, his officers chittered with amusement at the human's apparent delusion. "Your bravado is impressive, human," Crix rumbled, his forearms gesturing dismissively. "But your ship is crippled. Your weapons are useless against our shields. What possible threat could you pose to the might of the Zephyrian Empire?" On the Thunderstrike's bridge, Maya Chen exchanged a look with Dr. Vasquez, who nodded silently. The quantum drive was ready, though its activation would either save them all or tear the ship apart at the molecular level. "You want to know what makes humans dangerous, Admiral?" Maya replied, her voice carrying across the void. "We don't just build weapons, we build solutions." She turned to her crew, her voice now addressing them directly. "All hands, prepare for quantum drive activation. This is what we trained for." Lieutenant Morrison looked up from his station, his face pale but determined. "Captain, the drive is untested in combat conditions. The theoretical stress cold could destroy us instantly," Maya finished. "But doing nothing will definitely destroy us slowly. Dr. Vasquez, initiate startup sequence." The science officer's hands moved across her console with practiced precision. Deep within the Thunderstrike's hull, systems that existed only in theoretical physics textbooks began to come online. The ship's power grid reorganized itself, channeling energy into configurations that should have been impossible. "Quantum field generators are spinning up," Vasquez reported. "Core temperature rising to optimal levels. We'll have full power in 30 seconds. Admiral Crix watched the human ship with growing confusion. His sensors were detecting energy patterns unlike anything in the Zephyrian database. The crippled destroyer's power output was climbing exponentially, far beyond what should have been possible for a vessel of its size. "Commander Thane," Crix addressed his second-in-command. "What are those primitives doing over there?" Commander Thane, younger and less arrogant than his superior, studied the sensor readings with growing concern. "Admiral, I'm detecting massive quantum fluctuations around their ship. Whatever they're doing, it's generating more energy than our battlecruisers." "Impossible," Crix snorted. "Humans barely understand fusion power. They couldn't possibly have developed quantum manipulation technology." But even as he spoke, space around the Thunderstrike began to shimmer and distort. The fabric of reality itself seemed to bend around the human destroyer, creating visual effects that hurt to look at directly. On the Thunderstrike, Maya felt the ship's vibrations change as the quantum drive reached full power. The sensation was unlike anything she had ever experienced, as if the ship existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Drive is online, Captain," Dr. Vasquez announced, her voice filled with wonder and terror. "All readings are stable. Quantum field is holding at optimal parameters." Maya nodded, then addressed the Zephyrian fleet one final time. "Admiral Crix, you said you studied humanity for decades, but you only watched from a distance. You never bothered to understand what drives us." She paused, letting the quantum field's distortions create an increasingly dramatic backdrop to her words. "We're the species that looked at fire and decided to control it. We saw the ocean and built ships to cross it. We stared at the stars and found ways to reach them. When you mock our primitive technology, you're missing the point entirely. The quantum field around the thunderstrike suddenly stabilized, and the ship's appearance changed dramatically. What had been a battered destroyer now gleamed with an otherworldly energy. Its hull seemed to shift between dimensions, making it difficult for sensors to get accurate readings. We don't just use technology, Admiral. We become it. Maya turned to her tactical officer. Target the lead battlecruiser. Full quantum torpedo spread. Captain, the officer replied, his voice filled with awe. Quantum torpedoes armed and ready. These readings are incredible. Fire. What emerged from the Thunderstrike's torpedo tubes barely resembled the kinetic weapons they had used earlier. The quantum torpedoes moved through space like tears in reality itself, their passage creating ripples that distorted everything around them. Admiral Crix watched in horror as the impossible weapons approached his flagship. Raised shields, all power to defensive systems, but the quantum torpedoes didn't impact the shields at all. Instead, they passed through the energy barriers as if they didn't exist, striking the stellar dominion's hull directly. The effect was immediate and devastating. The battlecruiser's hull didn't just explode. It seemed to fold in on itself as quantum forces tore apart the molecular bonds holding it together. In seconds, the pride of the Zephyrian fleet was reduced to expanding clouds of its component atoms. The silence that followed was absolute. The remaining Zephyrian ships hung motionless in space, their crews stunned by what they had witnessed. Commander Thane, now in command of the fleet after his admiral's destruction, stared at the readings in disbelief. How is this possible? They're using our own physics against us. On the Thunderstrike, Maya felt the ship's power systems stabilizing as the quantum drive settled into a sustainable operational mode. The experimental technology was working better than their most optimistic projections. Dr. Vasquez, can we maintain this level of operation? Yes, Captain. The quantum field is actually becoming more stable with use. It's as if the drive is learning to optimize itself. Maya smiled grimly. Then let's finish this. Target the remaining battlecruisers. The next few minutes redefined space warfare. The Thunderstrike moved through the Zephyrian fleet like a force of nature, its quantum-enhanced weapons tearing through shields and armor that had been considered invincible. Ships that had dominated entire star systems found themselves helpless against technology they couldn't even comprehend. Commander Thane watched his fleet disintegrate around him. The human destroyer seemed to be everywhere at once, striking with precision that suggested not just superior technology, but superior tactical thinking. Sir, one of his officers reported, the humans are targeting our weapons systems specifically. They're disabling our ships rather than destroying them. Thane realized the human captain was making a statement. She could have annihilated the entire fleet, but instead she was demonstrating restraint even in the midst of overwhelming victory. Open a channel to the human ship, he ordered. Maya's image appeared on the Zephyrian bridge, her expression calm but firm. Behind her, the Thunderstrike's crew worked with quiet efficiency, monitoring systems that were rewriting the rules of physics. Commander, Maya said, recognizing the change in leadership, I assume you're now in command of what's left of your fleet. I am Commander Thane, he replied, his pride struggling with the reality of his situation. Your victory is impressive. But surely you understand that the Empire will send more ships. This battle proves nothing. Maya's smile was cold but not unkind. On the contrary, Commander, this battle proves everything. You came here expecting to face primitive humans with crude technology. Instead, you discovered that we've been watching you too. She gestured to Dr. Vasquez, who brought up a holographic display showing quantum field equations that made the Zephyrians' own physics look elementary. We studied your energy signatures, analyzed your shield harmonics, and developed countermeasures based on principles your scientists haven't even discovered yet. The quantum drive isn't just a weapon, Commander. It's a revolution. Commander Thane felt his worldview crumbling. The Zephyrian Empire's entire strategy was based on technological superiority. If humans could not only match but exceed their capabilities, then everything would have to change. "What are your terms?" he asked quietly. "Simple," Maya replied. "You will return to your empire and deliver a message. Earth is no longer an undefended world. We have allies among the stars, and we have technology that makes your fleets obsolete. Any future aggression will be met with overwhelming force." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle before continuing. "But we're not conquerors, Commander. We're explorers. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us, if we can learn to respect each other's sovereignty." Commander Thane looked around at the remains of his fleet. Most of his ships were crippled but intact, their crews alive thanks to the humans' precision targeting. It was a mercy he wasn't sure his own people would have shown. "I will carry your message," he said finally. "But the Empire Council will not believe this report." Maya's expression softened slightly. "Then bring them sensor recordings. Let them see what human primitive technology can accomplish. And Commander," she leaned forward, "make sure they understand that this destroyer is just the beginning. We have more ships under construction, and each one will be more advanced than the last." The transmission ended, leaving Commander Thane alone with his thoughts and his defeated fleet. Around him, his officers waited for orders, their confidence in Zephyrian supremacy shattered beyond repair. "Set course for the Empire," he ordered quietly. "Maximum speed." As the surviving Zephyrian ships limped away from the Sol system, Maya stood on her bridge watching their retreat. The quantum drive hummed softly in the background, its energy signatures already being analyzed and improved by Earth scientists. "Captain," Lieutenant Morrison said, "we're receiving messages from Earth Command. They want a full report." "In a moment, Lieutenant." Maya continued watching the tactical display as the alien ships disappeared into hyperspace. "Dr. Vasquez, how long until we can replicate the quantum drive technology?" "Based on these performance readings, I'd estimate 6 months for the first production model. A year for full fleet integration." Maya nodded thoughtfully. The galaxy was about to become a very different place. Humanity had announced its presence not with conquest or cruelty, but with innovation and strength. The Zephyrian Empire would think twice before threatening Earth again, and other species would take notice. "Lieutenant Morrison, open a channel to Earth Command." "Channel open, Captain." "Admiral Blake, this is Captain Chen. Mission accomplished. The Zephyrian fleet has been neutralized and sent home with a message. Request permission to begin full quantum drive testing protocols." Admiral Blake's voice crackled through the communication system, filled with amazement and pride. "Permission granted, Captain." "And Maya, well done, all of you." As the thunderstrike turned toward home, Maya reflected on the day's events. The aliens had mocked human ships, dismissing them as primitive and worthless. They had learned too late that human ingenuity wasn't about having the most advanced technology at the start, but about adapting, improving, and ultimately surpassing whatever challenges stood in their way. The stars ahead held infinite possibilities, and humanity was ready to explore them all.